Last week, we built a max profit and loss limit for your strategy. This week, we're going to be building a kill switch, again, using Strategy Builder. The main difference is that the max profit and loss only prevents new trades from taking place after your limit has been reached. The kill switch, on the other hand, it's going to actually take you out of your position once that limit has been reached. And yes, this is also going to reset on every new day so you can test on historical trades and on playback. If you want to download this or any code sample, indicator, or a bunch of other NinjaTrader related content, make sure you guys join the Discord. It's free. The link is going to be down below. But with that, let's get right into it. All right, so we're starting off with Strategy Builder. To open this up, you go to your control panel, New Strategy Builder. From this page, just go to New Strategy. You can name this whatever you want. So I'm just going to name this our kill switch example. Then just click Next. On this page, we have our calculate method, and it's just how often your strategy is going to perform calculations. So for example, on bar close, that just means it's only going to make those calculations once anytime a bar closes. So for this strategy, because we're trying to exit out of our position as soon as we either hit our profit or our loss target, it might not be the best to use this because it's going to wait until our bar closes either above or below that limit. So with that in mind, I do recommend using either on each tick or on price change because both of these update as the bar is also updating. For this example, I'm going to use on price change because it's a little less CPU intensive. And for most strategies, this is going to be plenty good enough. So on price change is what I recommend for this. Now I'm just going to hit next. Now, just like the previous video, we're going to make a new plan on what we need in order to achieve our goal. And this is important because we're working with Strategy Builder, which is a little bit limited in what we can do, versus if we actually unlock the code and we can hard code a few things. But there are a few workarounds for everything. So let's just make sure we have a plan and then we can proceed so everything makes more sense as we go on. So the first thing that we need is something that's going to help us keep track of the full total P&L of all of the days combined. The second thing that we need is something that's going to help us reset that P&L every single day, so we're always starting with a new daily P&L. Now, the third thing that we need is something to help us keep track of the unrealized P&L, because we're building a kill switch that's going to keep updating with our P&L while we're still in a position. We need to keep track of that unrealized P&L on top of everything else. And the last thing that we need is a variable that's going to store all of these calculations so we can easily call on it while our strategy is progressing and use that to execute our kill switch. So just like the last video, we're going to be using a custom series because again, this is the only way to perform the calculations we need while working with Strategy Builder. So let's open up the custom series. We're going to add. All right, so step one, we need a total P&L. This is going to be a double so we can keep track of the decimals as well. Now, step two, we need a new P&L that's going to help us reset our P&L. So this is going to be new P&L. Again, this is a double. And step number three, we need something that's going to keep track of the unrealized P&L. So let's just call this unrealized P&L. Once we have our custom series, let's go to next. Here we have our inputs and our variables. Our inputs are just the variables that the user can define inside the properties. This is where we're going to put in our max profit and our max loss. This way the user can customize this right within the properties without having to go back into Strategy Builder. So just go to add. I'm just going to say max profit. This is going to be a double. And my default, I'm going to put it at 300. The minimum can stay at 1. And let's do one for the loss as well. So max loss, this is a double as well. Our default, I'm going to do a negative number. So negative 300. And remember, if you're working with negative numbers, to make sure we get rid of the minimum, because 1 is higher than negative 300. So always get rid of the minimum with negative numbers. All right, so that brings us down to our variables. The variable is just like a container that's going to store a certain value that we can call on later. And these, the user will not be able to customize. It's just going to be values that update as our strategy progresses. So let's just hit add. Our step number 4 was just something that is going to keep track of all of our calculations so we can get our daily P&L. So I'm going to call this one daily P&L. And this is going to be a double. The default can stay at 1. It's going to change again as our strategy progresses. Now for the kill switch, everyone does it a little bit differently. I like to add a Boolean that's going to activate, so it's going to prevent any new trades after that kill switch has been hit. This is because I'm just going to exit using a market order, and there could be scenarios where our profit or our loss hit that kill switch limit, but the market order retraces and it brings our P&L back within range. And in this case, your strategy has the ability to re-enter again. I want to prevent that. I only want to exit once and then reset again at the next day. So I'm going to add another variable. I'm just going to say kill switch activated. I'm going to change this to a bool and change this to a false. Then hit OK. And now we can move on to our conditions and actions. And this is where we can actually build out our strategy. All right, for the first page, I want to make sure everything is reset on the very first bar of the session. So that means every new day, we're going to get a fresh start and our kill switch is going to reset and we get another shot. So how we do this, I go to my conditions page. I want to go to MISC and I'm going to scroll down to the first bar of session. I want to make sure this is equals to MISC and I'm scrolling down to true. So if we're in the first bar of the session, and because we're using on price change or on each tick, there could be scenarios where the first bar of the session also enters you into a trade. And this is going to keep resetting itself over and over if your strategy takes a position on that first bar. I want to prevent that. I only want to do it once on the first tick of the very first bar. So I go to add, MISC, scroll down to is first tick of bar, is equals to true. So this will ensure it's only going to execute on the very first tick of the very first bar. Now let's go down to our actions page. And I'm just going to make sure all of our custom series values get reset. So go to MISC. I'm going to scroll down to set total P&L, scroll down to the total P&L, then just go to strategy. And our total P&L, I'm just trying to keep track of our total realized P&L at this point. So I'm just going to set it at the realized P&L and currency. Next, you want to do this to our new day P&L as well. So again, go to MISC, scroll down to the set new P&L, set, strategy, and this is also going to be set to our realized P&L. This is going to ensure both of these values on the first tick of the first bar are exactly the same. And I'll show you why this is important because we're going to make a calculation in order to get our new daily P&L. And in order to keep track of that calculation, we must make sure that variable gets reset to 0 on every new day as well. So go to MISC, scroll down to set daily P&L. Our daily P&L, I'm just going to say it is equals to 0. So now that we've reset these values, I want to make sure that if our kill switch did get hit on a previous day, that gets reset here as well. So go to add, MISC, set kill switch activated, leave it unchecked because we want to make sure this gets turned to false. And this is going to allow trades on this new day to continue. And another thing I like to do, you don't have to do this next part. It just adds a little bit more visual to your chart. It's just so you can see when the chart resets and also some text just to see what the P&L is doing at that time. So I'm just going to add this part for those that want to use it. So I'm just going to go to add, drawing. Let's scroll down to set background color And here you can pick any color you want. I'm going to go with linen, and it's just to highlight the chart when a day resets. And I'm also going to add a little bit of text, again, just so I get a visual of the actual P&L. So scroll down to the fixed text. You can set your text position. This is going to be any corner of the chart that you want. So let's do bottom right. The tag can be anything you want. This is not going to be seen by the user. This is just the tag that holds the actual text object. So it doesn't really matter too much. I usually like to keep this simple. I'm just going to name it P&L. Just something easy to remember because we're going to need this later on. But what is actually shown to the user, that is what we put inside the text box. So let's go to set. So here I'm just going to keep track of our daily P&L. So I'm just going to type in daily P&L. I'm going to add another string, and I'm going to set our user variable, our daily P&L variable. Then I also want to display our max profit and our max loss limit for the kill switch. That way we know if our P&L is getting close, we know why it all of a sudden took us out of our position. So I'm just going to add. Here I'm going to give it another string. This is just whatever name you want. So I'm going to say something like max kill switch PL, or whatever you guys want to put in here. It really doesn't matter. Add. I'm going to first set our loss limit. Then I just like to split them and then add our max profit in here as well. So we have our daily P&L, our max loss, and our max profit. Once we have that, just hit OK, and we should be good to move on to set number 2. This is going to be the most used set. It's going to be what's actually keeping track of our P&L as our strategy progresses. So unlike set 1, where we just want to execute on the first bar of session, set number 2, I want to make sure we go to MISC, first bar of session is equals to false. So anytime that it is not the first bar of session, I want this code to be executed. Now for the actions, the first thing I want is our total P&L. This is going to constantly be set to the most current realized P&L. So on every single bar, this series is equals to the realized P&L. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure we keep updating our new day P&L. So this is our set new P&L. I want to make sure the bars to go 0, that is the most current bar we are working with. It gets set to go to set, MISC, go to custom series, select new P&L in here as well, but select bars to go 1. So just hit OK. The reason we do this, because let's go to set number 1. On that first bar of session, we're storing the total P&L. But because the custom series is not a variable, it's not something you can just call on later, the custom series is stored within the bar. So we have to constantly keep updating it on every new bar in order to keep that value on the most current bar. So all we're doing is getting the value at the beginning of the session, and that same value is going to keep getting updated for the remainder of the day. And I'll show why that's important in the calculation in just a little bit. But first, we must make sure we're also keeping track of our unrealized P&L, because that's also going to go into our calculation. So go to add, MISC, set unrealized P&L. This is going to get set to our strategy. And this one is the unrealized P&L. So our final calculation, what we need is to take our total realized P&L, we're going to add our unrealized P&L, and then we're going to subtract our stored new day P&L. And that is what's going to give us our actual usable daily P&L that we're going to use for our kill switch. So how we set that up on Strategy Builder, just go to your set daily P&L, set misc custom series. You want to select the total P&L plus we're going to set. Again, go to misc custom series. This time we're selecting the unrealized P&L because we're adding both of those together. And then from here, we're going to subtract, go to set, misc custom series, new P&L. And from here, just hit OK, 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 OK. So just to summarize, we have our total realized P&L plus our unrealized P&L minus our stored P&L from the beginning of the session. And that is what's going to give us our actual daily P&L. So I'm hoping this is making sense. We're just performing calculations to get our daily P&L. And in this set, I also want to update the text that is shown on the chart. So an easy way to do that, I just go to set number 1. You can right click on the draw text fixed, copy, go back to set number 2, and simply just paste it. Now that we have that, we can move on to the rest of the sets. The hard part is done. Now we just got to piece it together. So just go to set 3, add. In this page, I'm just going to say if our user variable, our stored daily P&L, is greater or equal to our max profit value. And also, if our user variable, our kill switch, has not been activated yet, so it is equals to false, I'm going to actually exit our order. I'm going to add order management, go down to exit long position, the from entry signal. I'm going to type this in once we enter our order as well, but it should be the exact same tag that you use. So I'll show that once we actually create the order, but this is what I'm going to type in. Our quantity, I'm going to set strategy. I want to exit our current position size. And the signal name for this exit order, I'm just going to call it something like kill switch long. This one doesn't really matter. It's an exit order, but you will see it on the chart once that is activated. And I'm going to do the same, but for the short side, just in case we are in a short position. So add order management, scroll all the way down to exit short position. Again, make sure your entry signals match your actual order, default quantity, strategy, current position size. The signal name, I'm just going to call this one kill switch short. And if this gets activated, I want to make sure our misc, our kill switch bool, also gets activated. So this is going to prevent any new trades from taking place on this day. And again, I want some sort of visual on the chart, so I'm going to update our text just with something that's going to display that my kill switch has been activated. So drawing, scroll down to fixed text. The tag should be the same as the previous one if you want to update it and not create something that goes over it. So just hit OK. I'm going to set this to the bottom right as well. For the text, I'm going to say profit kill switch reached. And then I'm just going to add our user variable, our daily P&L. Again, I'm just going to split it, and then I'm just going to add our max profit user variable. Once we have that, just hit OK. And I'm just going to make a copy of this set number 3. And I'm doing the same, but for the loss. So if our daily P&L is less or equal to our max loss, and yes, our kill switch should be false at that time, we can exit our long, exit our short, depending on which position we're taking. That is fine. Our kill switch gets activated, and I'm just going to change the text so it reflects that it was a loss this time. So set, going to change this to a loss kill switch reach, daily P&L, get set to the max loss. Now we're almost done. I promise. We just got to create our orders, run this on the chart, and then we'll cut the video. So let's go to set number 5. I'm going to do the same entry as the previous video. Again, guys, this is not a strategy you should run on its own. This is just an example. You would add your own code to this strategy. This is just to show you how the kill switch works. So all I'm going to do is price when the close is greater than the price high of the previous bar. So the current close is higher than the previous bar's high. And with this, I always recommend entering after your position has been flat. That means there are no other positions. It always just gives Strategy Builder a little bit of time to make sure all the calculations are up to date. Because again, we're a little bit limited in what we can do. So how we do that, I like to go to strategy, current market position is equals to strategy, market position, flat. And just like I mentioned, most of my other strategy builder videos, I also want to make sure on the same note that we don't enter on the same bar that we exit on. Again, this all ties into letting Strategy Builder perform its calculations. I want to make sure at least one bar happens after we exit before we start looking for another trade. So I just go to group, make sure the if any option is selected just inside this group. Go to add, go to MISC, bar since exit, go to MISC, numeric value is equals to -1. There are two parts to making your strategy delay one bar after you exit before it starts looking for a new trade. For the very first trade of your strategy, you need a numeric value of -1. If you don't have this, your strategy is not going to take any trades. So bar since exit equals -1. So once we have that, once the very first trade happens, we can go back into it. Bar since exit is greater than MISC numeric value 1. So this just means if it's -1 or if it's greater than 1, then we are able to enter a trade. And the actual thing for the kill switch for your order, we want to make sure that our user variable, our kill switch at the time that we enter the trade is equals to false. That means your kill switch has not been activated yet. Once we have that, we can just enter a long position. So I'm just going to do a quantity of 10. And my signal name is entry. Remember, this is the same signal that we used for our exit order. These must be the same or it's not going to work. Now I'm just going to copy this set number 5 to make things a little bit easier. And I'm going to do the short side now. So default, I'm going to say is less than the low of the previous bar. Everything else can stay the same. I'm just going to change my enter long to an enter short. And give it the same quantity, same signal name. You can also do different signal names between your entries. Just make sure the exit order matches the entry order. So I'm just going to add a quick stop, quick profit, and then we're going to play this on the chart. So from entry signal, entry, I'm going to do something like 40 ticks. And I'm going to add a stop loss as well. Again, from entry, ticks, 40. Once we have this, let's hit that compile button and play this on the chart. All right, so we're here on Strategy Builder. Let's just load this on the chart to see how it works. So right click on your chart, strategies, scroll down to your kill switch example. Here you can see your max profit and loss. You can change them if you want to. I'm just going to leave them at 300. Once we have that, scroll down to your control panel in the strategies tab and enable your strategy. So here you can see your daily P&L's only at 225. Your max kill switch is negative 300 and 300. So let's see, I think something might be wrong. Let's scroll through it. So our kill switch got hit, but it's not updating properly. So let's pull back the strategy builder real quick and see what we missed. So I'm just going to go back through our sets. We have our orders, set 5 and 6, those look okay. Set 4 are just to exit our position. Our daily P&L is always going to keep updating on set number 2, where it's not the first bar of the session. Now, my mistake is we never added a condition to only update if the kill switch has not been hit yet. So just go to user variables, kill switch activated. This must also be equals to false. So this is only going to update if the kill switch has not been hit. So that should do it. Let's hit compile. So back on the chart, I'm just going to disable and re-enable to refresh everything. And we can see our P&L is updated now to the 300. Our profit kill switch has been reached. So let's just scroll back through the previous days, make sure everything is working. Yeah, seems to enter, and then the kill switch eventually gets hit. So that seems to be working in historical trades. Let's move to a new day and see how it works in real time or playback. So here I'm just at 5:59 right before the start of a new day. So we can see how it resets and how the kill switch works while the strategy is playing out.
Order submitted.
All right, so we started a new day. We entered our position. All of these are on the same timestamp, so it was technically lower than the previous bar. So it entered as short. We have our new day P&L, and it's going to constantly keep getting updated with our actual NinjaTrader P&L. So let me just speed this up.
Stop filled. Stop filled.
Okay.
Order submitted.
We hit negative 200, but it didn't reach our limit, so we are still good to keep trading. So just wait till we hit negative 300 or a positive 300.
Order submitted.
Again, we went into profit. We're still okay to keep trading.
Stop filled. Order submitted. Order canceled.
All right, so there we finally reached our loss limit. We have our loss kill switch reached. It just shows the P&L at the time the kill switch was triggered. It's a little bit different because, again, remember we added that extra condition where we're no longer updating the P&L until the new day. So not to worry, we're just going to play this again, and I'm going to speed this up until the new day so we can see how it looks when it resets once more.
Order submitted.
As you can see, we reset on the white line, we entered long, our P&L reset once more, and we're tracking the current P&L. So let me just keep playing this.
Filled.
We hit our first profit, and this is just keeping track of the daily P&L. If you want to keep track of your total P&L, you can do that with the custom series. Just change whatever numbers you want.
Order canceled.
And again, here we just hit our profit kill switch limit. It took us out of our position when we reached 300. So we can confirm our kill switch works for the loss and the profit. So I'm going to cut the video here. I hope you guys found this video useful. As always, take care, enjoy.